You can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction right now, this very moment. Most people don't realize they're drifting. Not until they crash. They move through life reacting, not planning. They look forward to the weekend more than they look forward to their future. Isn't that ironic? They'll spend 2 hours scrolling for where to eat Friday night, but haven't spent 10 minutes this year thinking about where they want to be financially in 5 years. That's not laziness, that's unconscious behaviour. It's a mindset issue. And like all mindset issues, it can be fixed. If you're watching this, there's something inside you that knows the way you've been thinking about money, about time, about freedom, it isn't working, not in the long run. And maybe you feel behind. Maybe you've made bad decisions. Maybe no one ever taught you how to manage money. Maybe discipline feels like a mountain. Or maybe you're simply tired of starting over. That's okay, because today isn't about the mistakes of yesterday. Today is about a shift. See, life has this strange habit. It doesn't pay us based on what we hope for. It pays us based on what we expect, what we work toward, and what we discipline ourselves to do consistently. The world doesn't respond to emotion. It responds to principle. And the moment you stop wishing and start building, everything begins to change. Because wealth is not a wish. It's a project, not a lottery ticket, but a blueprint. One you follow day by day, with small bricks laid over time. It doesn't care how emotional you are, how stressed you are, or how hard life has been. It only listens to what you do next. Most people want financial freedom. Of course they do. They want the car, the house, the account that finally says, you made it. But here's the hard truth. They want it emotionally. They don't want it strategically. They don't want it behaviourally. They don't want it in their habits. Desire is easy. Discipline is rare. So today we're not going to talk about wishing. We're going to talk about building. We're not going to fantasize about someday. We're going to talk about how people who have nothing build something, brick by brick, thought by thought, decision by decision. This is the shift that separates dreamers from doers, impulsive from intentional, broke from wealthy. And it starts here, with how you think. Not what you know, not who you know, not how smart you are, but how you think about money, time, opportunity, sacrifice, and freedom. So if you're ready, let's begin with the very first principle of financial transformation. The rich don't wish, they build, one habit at a time. Wealth doesn't come from emotion. It never has, and it never will. Emotion is reactive. Principle is deliberate. Emotion wants more now. Principle asks, what will this cost me later? And this is where most people lose the game before they even realise they're playing one, because they think money responds to motivation, or to passion, or to desperation. But wealth has no sympathy for how badly you want it. Wealth respects one thing, structure. Let me tell you what emotion does with money. Emotion sees a raise and upgrades the lifestyle. Emotion sees a dip in the market and pulls out in panic. Emotion buys to impress. Emotion spends to soothe. Emotion justifies every dollar with a story that sounds good in the moment. Emotion says, I've worked hard, I deserve this. Principle says, I'm building something greater than this impulse. Let that sink in. Because the difference between broke thinkers and wealthy thinkers is this. Broke thinkers use money to feel better. Wealthy thinkers use money to get better. There's a big difference. One is relief, the other is transformation. One disappears the next day, the other builds momentum. And here's where it gets dangerous. The emotional mind will always come up with a logical excuse to justify a bad financial decision. It'll whisper things like, just this once. You can save next month. Everyone else is doing it. You're young. enjoy life. But wealthy people know better. They've trained themselves to question their first impulse. They've trained themselves to pause, to filter choices through principles, not feelings. Because they know something most people don't, feelings are fleeting. But your decisions have a compounding effect. Buy emotionally today and you pay for it tomorrow. Invest strategically today and you earn from it forever. You see, money doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't reward your tears. It doesn't take pity on your anxiety. It simply reflects your decisions, amplified over time. Wealth is neutral, like gravity, like math. It rewards those who understand the game and punishes those who keep reacting emotionally to it. And here's the kicker. Most people don't realize their financial life is being driven by their emotional life. They think they have a money problem. But what they really have is a thinking problem, a regulation problem, a discipline problem. They're not broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because they spend too emotionally. They save too inconsistently. They invest too reactively. They want to feel rich more than they want to become rich. That's the trap. So what's the alternative? Principle. The wealthy build financial systems that override emotion. They automate their savings. They create rules for spending. They stick to investment strategies even when it's uncomfortable. Why? Because they know emotions change, but principles last. They don't wait to feel like saving. They don't wait for the market to feel safe. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They move based on principle, like a builder laying bricks, rain or shine, day after day. Here's an example. Emotion says, let's buy it now. We'll figure it out later. Principle says, if I can't pay for it twice, I can't afford it once. Emotion says, everyone has a new car. I deserve one too. Principle says, my future comfort matters more than today's applause. And it's not about being cheap. It's not about deprivation. It's about direction. It's about vision. Because wealthy people know this. When you're ruled by emotion, you spend to escape. When you're ruled by principle, you invest to expand. They think in decades, not dopamine. They ask, will this decision serve me 10 years from now? Not, will this feel good tonight? So let me ask you something. When you spend money, when you invest money, when you save or delay a purchase, are you doing it because of how you feel? Or because of what you believe? Because if your money habits are driven by emotion, they'll rise and fall with your moods. But if they're anchored in principle, they'll grow, no matter the season. And over time, that's how you win. That's how wealth is built. Not with hype, not with passion, not with luck, but with consistent principle-based decisions repeated long enough to create something unshakable. Emotion is loud, principle is quiet. Emotion flashes, principle compounds. Emotion asks, what do I want now? Principle asks, what am I building that lasts? Which voice will you follow? You see, money is just a mirror. It reflects the values you actually live by. Not the ones you post about, not the ones you write down once a year, but the ones your behaviour proves day after day. So let's get brutally honest. Are your current habits leading you closer to freedom or further into frustration? Are you chasing feeling or building fortune? Because the truth is this, you don't need more motivation. You need more structure. You don't need another podcast or vision board. You need a financial rule book built on discipline and designed to protect you from your own emotions. The wealthy understand that discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about what you no longer allow yourself to do. It's what you consistently say no to, even when no one's watching. It's the habit of protecting your future from your feelings. And in a world that runs on impulse, that kind of discipline is a superpower. So stop looking for the next financial breakthrough. Start building from principle. Because wealth doesn't follow emotion, it follows execution. Here's the great illusion. You think if you just made more money, everything would be fine. But the truth, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep and what you multiply. That's the line nobody tells you when the paycheck hits. When the raise comes, when the promotion lands, the world celebrates income, but wealth is silent. It shows up later, quiet, lasting, unshakable. See, most people don't have an income problem. They have a retention problem. They know how to make money. They just don't know how to hold on to it. Because somewhere along the way, they tied their identity to lifestyle. They told themselves, if I make more, I should live better. And better started meaning more expensive, more luxurious, more impressive. But let me tell you something. The wealthy know deep in their bones. Every time your income increases, the temptation to spend increases faster. And most people lose that battle every time. They win the raise and immediately start shopping. They land a new contract and upgrade their car. They hit a bonus and book the trip. But here's what the wealthy do differently. They keep living like they haven't made it until their assets say they have. That's the difference. Regular people spend like they've arrived. The wealthy wait until they don't need the paycheck. They understand this core truth. Just because you can afford something doesn't mean you should buy it. And just because you earn more doesn't mean you need more. You want to build wealth? Learn to decouple your lifestyle from your income. Let your salary grow. Let your investments grow. But keep your spending stable, controlled, strategic. Because every dollar you don't inflate is a soldier you can deploy into assets, into compounding, into future freedom. The moment you increase your lifestyle just because you can, you trap yourself in the same game, just with shinier chains, the bigger car, the better home, the fancier watch. It all looks like progress until you realise you still need the job, still need the income, still can't breathe. Why? Because you let lifestyle catch up to, or worse, outpace your income. And here's the truth no one tells you. Lifestyle creep is the silent killer of long-term wealth. It's not the big, obvious mistake. It's the little upgrades that don't seem like a big deal until you realise you're spending 80 to 90% of your new income to maintain a new version of you that still isn't financially free. Here's what the wealthy do. When their income rises, they don't touch it. They bank it, they invest it, they pretend it never existed until it starts producing something that doesn't require their time. They buy back control. I once met a man making 7 figures a year, but he still lived like he made low 6 figures. Simple home, reliable car, clean, calm life. I asked him, why not upgrade? You've earned it. He smiled and said, I upgrade my lifestyle when my investments can pay for it, not when my paycheck can. That one line changed the way I looked at money forever, because I realised earned income is temporary. Passive income is freedom. If you're upgrading your life with earned income, you're not free. You're just dressing up the prison cell. Let that sink in. And this isn't about being cheap. This isn't about scarcity. It's about discipline. It's about asking a better question. Am I spending money to look successful or to actually become successful? There's a difference. The first is performance. The second is principle. The first gets applause. The second builds assets. And that's where most people get stuck, in the loop of performance spending. They make more. They spend more. They feel better for a while. Then the stress returns. The anxiety creeps back in. Because deep down, they know this version of rich is fragile. One emergency, one market downturn, one missed check, and it's all gone. That's not wealth. That's debt in disguise. So what's the mindset shift? It's this: your new income is not a reward, it's a tool. Use it to buy time, buy freedom, buy margin. Don't eat the fruit. Plant more trees. Let your spending stay the same for a little while longer. Not forever, just long enough for that income to start working for you instead of being spent by you. Because when you hold your income like an investor, not a consumer, everything changes. You go from how much can I buy now to how much can I own long term. You go from what's the next thing I want to what's the next thing I want to build. And that shift, that's the foundation of wealth. Not a new paycheck, not a new promotion, but a new pattern, a new system, a new sense of identity that isn't obsessed with displaying success, but with creating real, lasting, generational wealth. So next time you get a raise, next time your income grows, next time you have extra, don't ask, what can I buy? Ask, how can I use this to buy freedom? Because the people who get rich and stay rich aren't the ones who spend more when they earn more. They're the ones who build while no one's watching and let their wealth speak later, quietly, powerfully, on their terms. What if I told you every dollar you touch is a seed, not a tool, not a treat, not just money? A seed. And the question isn't how much you make, it's how many seeds you're wasting and how many you're planting. That's the real financial game. And most people lose because they eat every seed they get. They get paid, they spend, they earn extra, they upgrade, they save a little, and then touch it when temptation calls. And they wonder why there's no harvest, why nothing grows, why years go by and nothing feels different. Here's the truth. You don't need a windfall. You need to stop wasting seeds. See, wealthy people know something that changes everything. The size of the seed doesn't matter. What matters is that it's planted and protected. You could start with $1 a day, $10 a week. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it goes into the ground and that you don't dig it up every time you feel bored, stressed, or insecure. You have to let the seed stay planted. You have to give it time. Most people never build wealth because they never let time do its job. They want results in 30 days. They want passive income in 6 months. They want compounding without consistency. But here's the hard reality. The seed you don't plant today won't be a tree tomorrow. It won't shade you in 10 years. It won't bear fruit for your children. It won't build the life you keep talking about. Because you never gave it a chance. Every single dollar that comes into your life is a vote for short-term comfort or long-term strength. And the people who become financially free, they don't make perfect choices. They just make intentional ones. They don't waste the seed. They don't dismiss the small amount. They don't say, this doesn't matter, because they understand the man who plants $10 a week for 10 years ends up with more freedom than the man who waits to start with $1,000 someday. Consistency beats intensity, always. That's why wealth is built by quiet people. Not flashy ones, not loud ones, but consistent ones. The ones who make a private decision. The ones who stick to it. The ones who aren't trying to impress anyone. They're just trying to build something real. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone planting 1 seed a day. You don't notice much in week 1 or month 2. It looks like nothing is happening. But underground, compounding has already begun. Roots are growing. The ecosystem is changing. A foundation is forming. Fast forward 3 years, and that person has a small orchard. Fast forward 10, and they're living under a forest they quietly planted, while everyone else was burning theirs down with emotion. That's wealth, not the paycheck, not the job title, not the luxury lifestyle on credit. Wealth is the harvest. You earn from seeds planted long ago, when no one was clapping and no one was watching. You want that life? Then you need a new filter. From now on, every time money comes in, ask, am I planting this or am I wasting it? Because the dollar you spend to impress someone who doesn't care is a dollar that could have been invested. The $50 you spent to feel better for an hour could have been a share in a company that pays you forever. The $100 you used for a night out could have been a stepping stone to freedom. And no, this isn't about deprivation, it's about design. You can still enjoy life, you can still live well, but when every dollar has a purpose, everything gets better. Because now, you're not just surviving, you're strategizing, you're planting, you're building, you're shaping the kind of life that wealth was meant to support, not destroy. And here's the beautiful part. The process itself begins to reshape you. You start thinking differently, spending differently, feeling differently. Suddenly that $10 decision feels powerful, not small. That 1% of discipline becomes a force, not a limit, because you've become someone who doesn't just have seeds. You've become someone who knows what to do with them. And let me tell you something. The world doesn't reward the people who wish for trees. It rewards the ones who had the courage to plant when everyone else was wasting. So today, you get to choose. Will you spend this seed or will you plant it? One choice builds comfort. The other builds freedom. Choose freedom. You want to know the fastest way to go broke? Let your emotions drive your financial decisions. It's that simple. Not dramatic, not mysterious, just dangerous. Because your emotions don't care about your future. They care about relief. They care about pleasure. They care about now. And if you don't learn to control them, they'll control your wallet and your life. Let's get real. How many times have you bought something you didn't plan for? Simply because it felt good. That gadget, that trip, that streaming subscription you forgot about again. You told yourself it was small. You told yourself you'd make it up later. You told yourself you deserved it. And maybe you did. But here's the hard truth. Every time you give in to emotional spending, you're stealing from your future. That's not discipline. That's self-sabotage dressed as self-care. And it adds up fast. Most people don't realize this. Their money problems aren't money problems. They're emotional regulation problems. Because when you're tired, you spend. When you're stressed, you spend. When you're insecure, you spend. When you're bored, you scroll, then you spend. And the worst part, you justify it. You say, I'm investing in my happiness. But happiness that fades in an hour isn't an investment, it's a leak. Let me be blunt. The inability to delay gratification is why most people stay broke, no matter how much they earn. You think more income will fix the problem? It won't. It'll just give your emotions more fuel to burn. Because here's what emotion says when your paycheck grows. Finally, I can breathe. I deserve something nice. Let me enjoy life a little. But here's what principle says. You didn't earn this money just to lose control with it. Respect what it can do for your future. The wealthy understand something crucial. Emotions make terrible financial advisors. They overreact, they chase trends, they panic in downturns, and celebrate too early in upturns. In investing, this shows up as buying high because you're afraid of missing out, selling low because you're afraid of losing it all, timing the market based on how the news makes you feel. Sound familiar? It's emotional trading, and it's the reason so many people stay stuck, or worse, go backward. But this isn't just about investing. It's about how you move through the world. It's about how you spend when you're scared, buy when you're bored, and upgrade when you're insecure. So how do you fix it? Step 1, awareness. Start noticing your triggers. What mood are you in when you spend emotionally? What patterns show up again and again? Track it, write it down, see it clearly. Because if you don't name it, you can't tame it. Step 2, automate discipline. Take emotion out of the equation. Set up automatic transfers into your savings or investments. Don't wait until you feel like saving. Make it non-negotiable, like brushing your teeth. This single move, automation, is how millions of disciplined people stay that way. Not because they're better than you, but because they built a system that doesn't rely on willpower. And if you want to win with money, you need systems that work when your feelings don't. Step 3, build a plan, a real one. Not just make more money. A plan that says, here's what I earn. Here's what I keep. Here's where every dollar goes. Before emotion gets a chance to grab it. Because when you have a clear roadmap, you don't need to guess. You don't need to rely on mood. You just follow the strategy, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. Because that boredom, that's called consistency. And that's where wealth lives. Step 4, wait. This one's hard, but powerful. Every time you want to make a purchase that isn't essential, wait 72 hours. Feel the urge. Sit with the discomfort. And then decide. Not with your impulse, but with your intellect. You'll be shocked how often the desire fades. That's not deprivation. That's financial maturity. And maturity is the ability to say, I could, but I won't. Because the version of me 10 years from now deserves something better than this momentary fix. That version of you, they're counting on you right now. So the next time your emotions say, treat yourself, buy it now. You only live once. Respond with this. I don't build wealth on feelings. I build wealth on discipline. Because here's what's true. Every dollar you protect is a future option you preserve. Every emotional decision you resist is one more brick in the foundation of freedom. And every time you master your mood, instead of letting it master you, you get stronger. Wealthy people don't feel less than you. They just react differently. They still get scared. They still feel pressure. They still have wants, triggers and doubts, but they've trained themselves to pause, to breathe, to think before they act. They ask, will this move me closer to freedom or further away? Then they decide. That's the difference between financial chaos and financial clarity. Not knowledge, not income, but emotional mastery. You master your mood, or your mood masters your money, and one leads to freedom, the other to frustration. So you choose, spend in emotion, and pay for it later, or train yourself, and get paid for a lifetime. Let me ask you something. What do you really own? Not what you earn, not your job title, not your paycheck. What do you own that continues to grow even when you stop working? Because here's the trap most people live in. They spend their whole life chasing income, but never build anything that lasts when that income stops. They work harder. They climb ladders. They celebrate raises and promotions. But when the paycheck ends, so does everything. That's not freedom. That's dependency with a better salary. And it's why most people, even high earners, feel exhausted, trapped, or one step away from collapse. Because the moment they stop trading time for money, the money stops. But wealthy people, they don't just chase income, they build assets. Because income feeds your today. Assets feed your forever. Let me be clear. Income is the engine. Assets are the destination. Income is how you start. Assets are how you escape. Because no matter how much you make per hour, you will always run out of hours. That's why the wealthy shift their focus from earning to owning. They ask different questions. What can I buy that will grow in value? How can I turn my time into something that works without me? How can I convert income into ownership? That's the game. Ownership. That's where wealth lives. You think people get rich because they have a high salary? Wrong. They get rich because they own a piece of something that keeps growing, a business, real estate, a portfolio of dividend-paying stocks, a patent, a platform, a brand. They own systems, not just skills. They understand that every dollar earned can either buy time or stay stuck buying more obligation. And that's what most people do wrong. They earn more, but spend more. They upgrade their car, their clothes, their lifestyle, but not their ownership. So the income rises, but their freedom doesn't. Because they never moved their money from effort to equity. Let me give you a story. Years ago, I was offered 2 deals. One paid me $300 an hour to consult. The other offered me a 5% equity stake in a startup, but no upfront cash. Guess which one I took? The high hourly rate. I wanted the money now. I wanted the security, the reward, the quick win. 10 years later, that startup sold for millions. That 5% would have been the biggest check of my life. What did I learn? You can't build wealth if you always choose cash over compound. Wealth isn't built in the hours. It's built in the ownership of outcomes. So how do you shift? 1. Start small, but start now. You don't need millions to buy assets. You can start by buying fractional shares of index funds. Start that small side business you've been talking about. Buy a plot of land in a developing area. Learn skills that let you create digital products once and sell them forever. The key is stop only working for income. Start using that income to buy leverage. Second, track your ownership, not just your budget, not just your expenses. Track how many assets you control. What % of your net worth is income producing? How many hours of the month are covered by passive streams? What can you stop working on today and still get paid for tomorrow? If the answer is 0, it's time to build. 3. Prioritize equity over ego. Most people want to look rich. The wealthy want to own rich. That means saying no to the image. It means choosing the silent investment over the public display. Because flash is fun, but ownership pays forever. 4. Reinforce the mindset. Every morning, ask yourself, what am I building today that will pay me tomorrow? Even if it's small, even if it's slow, even if no one claps for it yet. Because here's the truth. The man who owns a small piece of something that grows will eventually outrun the man who earns 6 figures with nothing to show. It's not about how much you hustle. It's about how many machines you build to hustle for you. That's what assets are. They're machines, multipliers, legacy engines. They don't care if you're tired. They don't care if you're on vacation. They don't care if you want a break. They keep paying you. And over time, that payment becomes freedom. So while the world chases the next raise, the next job, the next hustle, you quietly build. You collect assets. You plant equity. And you watch it grow. That's the move. That's the shift. Don't just make more money. Build more ownership because income feels good. But assets change your life. Take a long, honest look at how you spend your money. Not just what you spend it on, but why you spend it. What you'll find, if you're brave enough to look, is this. Your spending is not random. It's a mirror. It reflects something deeper than your income, deeper than your goals, deeper even than your financial knowledge. It reflects your identity. You see, people don't spend based on math. They spend based on who they believe they are. If you believe you're someone who never gets ahead, you'll spend like it, even when the money's good. If you believe you're a spender, not a saver, you'll sabotage every attempt at wealth. If you believe you deserve a certain lifestyle, you'll finance it. even when it costs you your future. That's not logic, that's identity in action. Because identity is the strongest force in human behaviour. And we always act in alignment with who we believe ourselves to be, consciously or unconsciously. That's why most budgets fail, not because they're poorly structured, but because they're built on top of a broken self-concept. Let me give you an example. You could give two people the exact same income, same expenses, same opportunity. One builds wealth, the other stays stuck. Why? Because one sees themselves as a builder. The other sees themselves as someone who just never figured money out. Same numbers, different identity. That's why when you try to change your financial results without changing how you see yourself, it doesn't last. You might save for a while. You might invest for a bit. You might even pay off some debt. But your subconscious will eventually drag you back to where you believe you belong. So let me ask you, who are you financially? Not who you want to be, not who you wish you were, but who are you right now? Are you the person who tracks every dollar with care or avoids looking at the numbers because it feels overwhelming? Are you the kind of person who delays gratification for greater gain? Or says YOLO every weekend, then panics at the end of the month? Do you spend money with intention or with emotion? Because the answers to those questions shape your entire financial future. And the beautiful, sometimes terrifying part is this. You are always reinforcing your identity with every choice you make, every swipe of your card, every impulse purchase, every investment, every delay. It all says something about who you believe you are. So if you want to change your finances, you have to upgrade your financial identity. You can't just try harder. You have to believe something different about who you are and what you're capable of. That starts with language. Stop saying, I'm bad with money. I've never been good at saving. I just like nice things. Those are self-fulfilling scripts. They give your brain permission to repeat self-destructive habits because they match the identity. Instead, start saying, I'm someone who protects my future. I'm building wealth daily, no matter how small. I use money to build freedom, not to chase validation. It'll feel weird at first, that's okay. Identity shifts always feel fake at the beginning. But over time, your behaviour starts to catch up with your words. You'll find yourself questioning emotional purchases. You'll feel proud when you automate your savings. You'll say no, not because you're depriving yourself, but because you know. This choice doesn't match the person I'm becoming. That's when everything changes. Your financial discipline stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like alignment, and that's the goal, to live in alignment with the wealth builder inside you, even before your bank account shows it. Because when your identity shifts, your habits don't have to be forced. They become natural. Let's break this down practically. Step 1. Track every dollar. Not for guilt, but for insight. This isn't about judgment, it's about clarity. You're collecting data on who you've been, so you can intentionally shift into who you're becoming. Step 2. Audit your emotional patterns. Where do you spend emotionally? When do you feel most out of control? Connect the dots. Are you using money to feel worthy, to prove something, to distract yourself? Write it down. Call it out. You can't heal what you won't face. Step 3. Re-script your identity. Every morning, affirm your new identity. Say, I am someone who builds wealth. I respect money and make it work for me. I invest in my future more than I spend for approval. I build discipline because freedom is worth more than dopamine. Then act accordingly, even in tiny ways. Step 4. Create visual proof. Put a screenshot of your growing investment account on your wall. Track your debt going down. Celebrate your emergency fund reaching its next milestone, because nothing reinforces a new identity like evidence. The more proof you see that you're becoming a wealth builder, the more permanent the identity becomes. And once that shift is locked in, you'll never go back, because you'll have become someone who doesn't just do the right things. You'll be someone who is the kind of person who wins, financially, emotionally, and intentionally. So the next time you're about to spend, pause, look in the mirror, and ask, does this decision match who I'm becoming or who I used to be? Your answer will tell you everything. Let's talk about the upgrade. You know the one. The new car, the bigger house, the high-end phone, the designer brand, the nicer apartment in that better zip code. And let's be honest, it's tempting. You've worked hard, you've earned more, you've leveled up. So your brain says it's time to enjoy it. That's what we've been conditioned to believe. Make more, spend more. Promotion, upgrade, bonus, treat yourself. But let me hit you with something real, something no one else will tell you. The person who delays the upgrade is the person who buys freedom. See, most people trade their raises for a more expensive life. The wealthy trade their raises for ownership, leverage, and peace. They don't upgrade when their income goes up. They upgrade when their assets can pay for it, effortlessly. Let that sink in. Don't spend more because you earn more. Spend more when your investments earn more. There's a massive difference. One path buys comfort now and pressure forever. The other buys discipline now and freedom forever. And you get to choose. Because here's the trap. Every time you inflate your lifestyle too early, you're not just spending money. You're increasing pressure. You're locking yourself into a higher monthly burn. You're committing to more bills, more obligations, more stress. And that bigger paycheck, it disappears just as fast as the last one did. The car is nicer, but the financial anxiety is the same. The apartment has a view, but you're still trading all your time for money. That's not wealth. That's lifestyle inflation in disguise. That's a hamster wheel with better shoes. The truth is, real wealth comes when you delay gratification intentionally. Not because you're cheap, but because you're playing a bigger game. A long game. One where you buy time before you buy toys. Where you buy peace before you buy prestige. Where you buy freedom before you buy furniture. So what does that look like? Let's say you get a $1,000 per month raise. You could upgrade your car, or you could keep driving the same one and invest the difference. Over 10 years, that money invested smart could become six figures that could spin off passive income for the rest of your life. While everyone else was trying to look rich, you became rich because you learned this quiet, powerful truth. The faster you delay the upgrade, the sooner you won't need to ask permission to live life on your terms. And yes, it takes discipline. It takes vision. It takes saying no to things your ego really wants to say yes to. But here's what you're really saying yes to: waking up without financial stress, having options instead of obligations, walking away from jobs, people, or deals that don't serve you because you can, retiring early, traveling freely, helping your parents, investing in your kids, all without asking anyone for help. That's what you're buying every time you say, not yet, not never, just not yet. Because there will be a time, if you play this right, when you can upgrade everything. And here's the difference. You won't be upgrading with effort. You'll be upgrading with freedom. You won't be trying to impress others. You'll be expressing who you've become. You won't be checking your bank account before you swipe. You'll know it's covered by systems you built years ago. And it all starts now, with one decision. Will I buy the reward now, or will I buy the freedom to reward myself forever? Because here's what wealthy people understand. The car looks good today, but loses value tomorrow. The apartment feels nice today, but keeps demanding rent forever. The watch turns heads today, but won't feed your family next year. But the investment, the asset, the portfolio, the business, those things keep giving. Long after the thrill of the upgrade fades, the fruit of discipline keeps growing. It's not sexy, it's not Instagrammable, it's not instant, but it's real, and it's yours, if you're willing to wait. So what do? Step 1. Create a personal rule. I don't upgrade my lifestyle until my assets can pay for it, in full, passively. Make that your mantra. Tattoo it on your budget. Repeat it every time you get a raise, bonus, or win. Step 2. Design your freedom number. What monthly amount do you need from passive income to cover your current lifestyle? $3,000 a month? $5,000 a month? $8,000 a month? Now ask yourself, am I building toward that number or just inflating past it? That awareness will change everything. Step 3. Let the numbers motivate you more than the noise. Track your investments. Celebrate the boring wins. Smile every time you say no, because you're really saying yes to something bigger. The wealthy? They don't buy flashy things to feel rich. They feel rich because they own their time, because they made a decision most people never make. I'd rather be free than look free. You ready for that? Then here's your next move. The next time life hands you more money, don't upgrade the car. Don't move to a more expensive apartment. Don't buy the newest gadget. Upgrade your ownership. Upgrade your investments. Upgrade your discipline. And in a few years, while everyone else is still playing catch-up, you'll be living a life they can't believe. All because you waited just a little longer. Here's the difference no one talks about. The wealthy buy time. The broke buy escape. Same money, different use. Radically different future. Most people spend their money trying to feel free for a few hours. The wealthy invest their money to be free for decades. One is relief, the other is release. Let's unpack this. When someone's trapped in a job they hate, what do? They buy. The vacation to escape. The shoes to feel in control. The dinner out to reward themselves for surviving another week. They call it self-care. They call it balance. But what they're really doing is numbing themselves, spending as sedation, because they're not building anything that will actually set them free. They're renting freedom with money that could have been used to buy it outright. Meanwhile, the wealthy, they're not chasing dopamine. They're not trying to feel good today. They're trying to own tomorrow. They know that every dollar can do one of two things. Buy you an escape for a moment, or buy you back your life, hour by hour, year by year. And they choose the second relentlessly, because they understand something most people never grasp. Time is the real currency, and freedom is the real wealth. Think about it. What's the point of having money if you still wake up to an alarm you hate? If you still have to say yes to clients you can't stand? If you still measure your worth by how many hours you grind? That's not wealth. That's golden handcuffs. Wealthy people break those chains by buying time. They do it in small ways, paying someone to clean their house so they can think, automating bills and savings so they don't waste bandwidth, investing in assets that pay them so their time is no longer a price tag, and in big ways, buying their own schedule, choosing work they love over work they need, walking away from noise because they no longer need validation. That's real freedom. And it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because they didn't use their money to numb the pain. They used it to build a life where they didn't need to escape anymore. Let that sink in. How much of your spending is about solving problems, and how much of it is about avoiding the truth that you're tired, burnt out, unfulfilled, stuck, and instead of confronting the system, you try to soothe the symptoms. New clothes, more food, another trip, another scroll, all to delay the realization that nothing's changing. But it could. The moment you start using your money to invest in your time, not run from your pain, everything changes. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy life, or take breaks, or have nice things. It means you do it from a place of power, not escape. It means you ask before every purchase, am I using this to feel better about a life I don't like, or am I building a life I won't need to run from? Because the wealthy, they aren't rich because they're never spent. They're rich because they learned how to spend for time, not for image, not for relief. They spend to learn a skill that will free them later. Start a side business that buys their Saturday back. Invest in income streams that buy back their 40s and 50s and 60s. They sacrifice now, not out of fear, but out of vision. And while the world mocks their discipline, they're quietly buying back what no one else can afford, their life. So what's your move? Step 1. Track your escapes. Seriously. Look at the last 30 days. What did you spend money on to feel better, but change nothing? What expenses were just emotional anesthesia? Name them, write them down. You'll be shocked. Step 2. Identify your time traps. Where are you most owned by your schedule? Which obligations are fueled by the need for money? What would you eliminate if money weren't the issue? Now reverse engineer the asset that would buy that freedom. Step 3. Make a new vow. I will not spend my life buying moments of escape. I will spend my life buying the time to build what I love. Repeat it, live by it, let it guide your decisions. And when you feel the itch to buy something that gives you a hit of excitement, pause. Ask, will this buy me an hour? Or will it cost me a year? Because it's all a trade. Every expense is either a step toward time ownership or a delay of your future freedom. So choose boldly, spend wisely, buy time, not thrill. Because the person who owns their calendar owns their life. And that's what real wealth looks like. You want to know the real reason most people never build wealth? They think it's supposed to be loud. They think it's supposed to look like something. Fast cars, big houses, flashy watches, fancy vacations, social media highlights and viral moments. They think wealth is built in a surge of luck, or a brilliant move, or a right place, right time story. But here's the truth that almost no one wants to hear. Wealth is built quietly. One choice, one habit, one discipline at a time. It doesn't shout. It doesn't post. It doesn't need to be seen. It just keeps showing up day after day when no one's clapping. Let me break it down for you. Discipline is not exciting. It's waking up early and reviewing your expenses. It's automating your investments. Even when the market looks crazy, it's saying no to the impulse buy. It's setting aside 10% of a paycheck that already feels too small. It's living below your means, even when everyone else is flexing above theirs. It's reading one book instead of watching 4 hours of recommended for you. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it works. Because every time you show up for your financial discipline, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming, a vote for the future you're building, a vote against the noise, the pressure, the chaos. That's what wealthy people understand. They didn't get rich by making one perfect decision. They got rich by repeating the right ones over and over until they couldn't lose. And yes, at first it feels like nothing is happening. You save $100 and it feels like a joke. You invest $200 and it barely moves the needle. You say no to a $50 dinner and no one notices but you. But do it again and again and again. And one day you look up and realize you're debt-free. You have 6 months of runway. Your investments are compounding. You have breathing room. You're free. And no one saw it happen. Because wealth doesn't come in a moment. It comes in a pattern. It's the pattern of people who learn to do hard things quietly, before the world ever applauded them. That's what discipline is. It's the art of choosing the long road when the short one is screaming your name. It's choosing invisible momentum over visible gratification. It's becoming someone who doesn't need to be seen to be secure, someone who's so rooted in principle, so dialed into their system, that temptation starts bouncing off them like water on armour. You think people who are wealthy are just lucky? Then explain this. Why do people win the lottery and lose it all in 5 years? Because they had money, but they never built discipline. And money without discipline is like water in your hands. It slips away. You need a container, a structure, a philosophy. You need rituals that are stronger than your urges. Discipline is that container. And once you build it, money will have no choice but to stay and grow. So how do you start? Step 1. Pick one small thing and make it sacred. Maybe it's saving 10% of every dollar. Maybe it's no emotional spending without a 72-hour pause. Maybe it's reviewing your bank account every Friday at 9 a.m. No matter what, pick one. Commit. Don't negotiate. Not because it makes a huge impact in one day, but because it trains you to trust yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of wealth. Step 2. Track your wins, even the small ones. Write down every time you honoured your discipline. Celebrate it. Not to brag, but to reinforce your identity. Because every time you act in alignment with your principles, you deepen the belief that you're a person who builds wealth. Step 3. Embrace the quiet. You won't get applause. People won't notice. They might even tease you for being cheap or too intense. Let them. Because years from now, when they're still renting freedom, you'll be owning it. You'll be living on your terms. Not because you got lucky, but because you stayed loyal to the boring, powerful work that nobody talks about. You want the secret? Here it is. Discipline isn't something you do. Discipline is someone you become. It starts small, like a whisper. But if you honour it, it grows into a voice that drowns out every excuse. And when that happens, you don't have to chase wealth anymore. Wealth starts chasing you. So stop waiting for the big moment. Stop trying to find the hack. Stop hoping someone else will hand it to you. Pick a principle, repeat it, honour it like it's oxygen. That's how you win. Quietly, daily, forever. So now you know. Wealth isn't luck. It isn't magic. It isn't something they have and you don't. Wealth is a mindset. Wealth is behaviour. Wealth is built, not wished for. And if you've made it this far, you're not like most people. Because most people would have tuned out when it got uncomfortable. Most would have closed the window when the truth hit too close. But not you. You stayed. You listened. You've been shown the blueprint, and now you have a choice. Will you keep doing what's familiar, what's comfortable, what's emotional, or will you do what's required? Because this path, the path to lasting wealth, time freedom, peace, isn't easy, but it's clear. And it starts with 3 choices. 1. Think rich. Change your internal dialogue. Stop calling yourself bad with money. Stop saying someday. Start seeing yourself as someone worthy of freedom. Because you can't build externally what you don't believe internally. 2nd, act rich. Not like a performer, not like a consumer. Act like the wealthy do. Save even when it's hard. Invest even when it's small. Say no to the unnecessary and yes to the future. Delay the upgrade. Build the habit. Keep the promise. One move at a time. One seed at a time. 3. Become rich. And when I say rich, I don't just mean money. I mean rich in time, rich in options, rich in peace, rich in confidence, rich in legacy. That's the destination. But it only comes to those who keep showing up, not when it's easy, not when it's exciting, but when it's quiet, unglamorous, and inconvenient. That's the proving ground. That's where real wealth is built, in moments when no one is watching but you. And that's what this has always been about. Not impressing others, but becoming someone you are proud of. So here's the challenge. Open your notebook. Write down your financial truth. What are you doing that's keeping you stuck? What do you need to stop justifying? What do you need to start and refuse to quit? Then write down your next 3 moves. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. Maybe it's automating $50 a month into an index fund. Maybe it's reading 1 financial biography. Maybe it's cancelling a subscription and redirecting that money toward freedom. Start there. Then show up again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Because the habits that feel insignificant today will become the life you're known for tomorrow. And someday, you'll look back and realise the wealth wasn't the goal, you were. The person you became in the process, the character you forged, the courage you cultivated, the legacy you left behind, that's the real treasure. So let's end with this. You don't need to wait to start acting rich. You start now. You start with what you have. You start before you feel ready. Because someday becomes never. But now is possible. Now is powerful. Now is yours. So make the decision, I will think rich, I will act rich, and I will become rich. Not someday, today.